Welcome back to Kamen Rider Review, episode number 34. Yep, this is discussing episodes 15 through 19. 15, 16 are essentially put a two-parter. Yes, it's a two-parter. And by the way, the main monster you face in this one is basically, they call him Kronos, as a name after one of the Greek Titans. And he's a death monster. Carries on a scythe. They act like he's a Grim Reaper. Now, this is what is you could call it we have the debut, well, the only appearance per se. I'm not really sure appears even after this of the Apolline Palace. Yes, a a base for the God. It's implied this might be the main base in Japan, possibly, but they don't really go in detail about that. So we start off with this medical doctor receiving. We start with this old man just carrying around a package, a blue package, walks up a hill, having some difficulty, goes inside, says you can see the doctor, and he leaves the package behind. So the package is taken by the doctor, and it's a message from the God Supreme Commander. And he says, "We have need your skills. Come to the Palace Palace. We need you to the Palace Palace. Come to the parking lot at this particular parking spot at this time tomorrow." And he's like, "Understood." And then the other one, this one's kind of weird, where it basically was supposed to go to a engineer, but there was mix up because they run into the two girls, the two employees of the coffee cafe that Tabosha runs. By the way, this is their debut. Yep, for the two girls, this is their debut, and they're pretty much here for pretty much the rest of the series. Surprisingly, they don't skip an episode, which is shocking. Yes, they make debut in 15. Their final appearance being in episode 35, which that's a rarity. You don't see that very often. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So, they discover they actually listen to the Supreme Commander's message, and he gets spooked by it, and of course another one later on. And this happened to be a monsters happened to be in Tabata's shop. Yeah, just by sheer coincidence. So we have June disguise himself as the engineer, gets a lift, gets introduced to the other doctor, the one who's a medical doctor, and they drive. Well, first they take a blindfold, put it on, and apparently Jin, who's disguised, of course, we don't know it's Jin until the Supreme Commander points out that yeah, you're Jin, Comrade X. So I'm like, why did he take off his glasses for when he put the blindfold on? I don't know. Maybe so he could be tying his head or face. I don't know. It takes off because the entrance to this place surrounded by a fog, and apparently the exterior is basically a giant dome. And then they take an elevator where they go down like 20 stories, seems like. Then, of course, they arrive in this small hallway where we have these small doors that lead into various rooms. You could look in these rooms. Now, this I thought was kind of weird of a setup where I'm like, get these small doors looking in these rooms. Now, how the heck do people get in there? Maybe there's air doors, maybe they're on a higher floor. It's not exactly clarified when it comes to this thing. So we see that we have like a gymnasium, like various places to go, like laboratory, and then of course we see like, oh, the Supreme Commander's office. And it's asked by the engineer. He says, "Has anybody seen what's exactly inside this office?" He's like, "Well, only the chief of the secret police has been in there. No one else has ever been in there, just him." And apparently, the entrance to this place is simply a revolving door. Now, as for what's inside this office, they don't reveal exactly what's inside his office. And then it's like, "Oh, why don't you look in this room? Especially you, Mr. Engineer." Looks inside. We see a guy wearing a welder's mask. Takes it off. And oh, it's the engineer. Like, wait, he's an imposter. But he's like, "Nope, you're really him." Like, haha, okay, you real. And he does a little reveal. Then he transforms and he ends up fighting him. And by the way, there is some mysterious person table. They reveal them in the next episode of who it is. It's Apollo guest. They basically revive him with the very next episode. Interesting they kept him dead for. I mean, he was just killed off just last episode, episode 14. Here, he's basically revived. Yeah, he's revived with the help of medicine and engineering. And appearance wise, didn't really. I think they gave him a new cape. His face looks pretty much the same. Well, in his monster form, and they gave him a new weapon for his right hand because previously it was a shotgun. They still have his shield he likes wearing around, but he switched up with basically kind of like a glove gun is basically what they gave him, and he has this right now currently what I'm watching right now, where basically it's like a tube with a little bit like a gun inside and it's like a little sword, so you can basically do like dual fighting because well the Kamen Rider's got basically a Kamen Rider stick, and at one point Kamen Rider's injured in the shoulder by Kronos. Eventually he's defeated. Yeah, how he's injured is quite interesting to say the least. Where he's like hitting the shoulder really hard and somehow that hurts him. And apparently for the Kamen Rider it takes him like an hour for him to heal. But not in the case of basically this. So he's eventually taken by Apollo, who manages to go into his fancy white suit that he loves put on when he's in human form. Plus himself gives him an hour basically to heal his wound. Though he does escape eventually, and then of course, well, he gets out, and he does battle Apollo, but he gets away. And very nice two-parter. Now, in the case of the next 3 episodes, there are 3 standalone episodes that vary in what happened here. Yes. In the case of, like, episode number 17, when my thing works here, yeah, 17 is, the planet simply turn people into trees. Which that is kind of partially based upon the mythology behind it. Possibly, yes. Yeah, it's kind of weird to say the least of, like, let's just basically turn people into trees for reasons, per se. Mm-hmm. And my laptop, my thing is not working. Okay, now it's working. Yeah, but these are basically, you can think of these as the weird episodes. Yeah. By the way, the guy's name was Adilisis. Yeah, that's the name of this guy. And he appears here plus a movie. Yep, he turns in the movie, which I'll discuss. So, he's a very strange monster, per se. Yeah. The next 2 episodes are very creepy. Like, we have sort of a mini pandemic going on in the next episode where they unleash this cat virus to basically turn people into cat monsters. This little girl basically is frightened of the black cats who just... Now, apparently it was created by a scientist, and then the scientist gets infected when the first people get infected, though he eventually is cured because Apollo Guest really wants to have him basically because he's a genius scientist. And by the way, the cat monster just happens to be a scientist too. At least this one is not as stupidly written like the other ones are. These ones are a little more smarter. Eventually, Taboshi gets turned into a cat monster, which I thought that was kind of strange, and he's cured off screen, along with the girls. How when the heck they got infected? Don't know. Apparently infected their entire apartment block. Yeah. It just like stuff happens, and then basically like no explanation. The monster is eventually destroyed, everybody's cured at the very end. Yeah. In the case episode 19, oh boy, this one's very creepy. We start off basically with this couple, one takes shelter from a storm, ends up at a haunted house. Yes. And basically looks around like, what was we? And of course we have these creepy paintings. Though it was later revealed these paintings are actually the GOD welfare agents. Which I thought that was kind of weird. Why the heck would they pose it as paintings for? It makes no freaking sense. And apparently the GOD Speaking Panda poses one of the paintings too. And then when he disappears, the painting falls to the wall, and there's tape recording right behind it. Excuse me. And then that just disappears. Yeah, and apparently the whole house was later revealed to be an optical illusion. Yeah, and then it's later seen by the viewer that the couple are dead. Yeah, apparently they got killed maybe not long after they arrived at the house because they're skeletons. How the heck was that possible? Was some acid they ate? Don't know. It's particularly quite weird. The monster this one is basically Occulent, the ghost monster. Yeah. Excuse me, of course, he caused sort of a minor killing spree going on. Eventually, I bet, by the way, when he is defeated, he's not exploded like the other ones are. Oh no, he just turns to foam. Just shoots lots and lots of foam out of his mouth when he gets hit by the X kick. Yeah. And of course, Apollo Jeff doesn't do much anything in this episode. Has like, I'm really going to kill Kamen Rider. Who knows? We'll find out in the next couple episodes, which I'll do a break from that point then. Mm-hmm. Yep, but we're getting more into this thing. Now, could I possibly the reason why this thing lasted 30 episodes? I can see why they had changed direction at the episode 21. Yes. Now I know that in 21 we're gonna see monsters get revived, which that is nothing unusual because they did it both in the original Kamen Rider series and the sequel series. Heck, they brought back the same monster like 4 or 5 times sometimes. Yeah, but we'll find out more when it comes to watching 21st episode and when I want to watch the movie. Yep, so yeah, that's episode review. Stay tuned for my review later on for the last 2 episodes of this series. The last 2 episodes I'm talking about for now before I talk about Slime Diaries. Okay, next video. Bye.